Hey, welcome back to Ask Kathleen Anything. I love all the questions that have been coming in. And so today I'm going to answer a question from Andrea. So she wrote in and said, I have severe driving anxiety, and it really got worse after I witnessed an accident on the interstate near where I live. And the traffic just keeps getting worse and worse, and it does not feel safe for me to drive on the interstate. I worry about my family also, but for me, I can't go anywhere that requires being on the interstate if I'm driving. I'm starting to see what you're saying about this inside out paradigm, but I really don't see how it applies to something like accidents and traffic, because it looks to me like it's just not very safe to drive on the interstate. And so I can't imagine how I'm ever going to get rid of this driving anxiety. So, Andrea, first of all, I want to say that, that's really something to struggle with. That really can put one in a box, kind of, if you places that you want to go that maybe you just have to take a longer route, or you can't get there, or you got to ask for help, like that. That's inconvenient, and I imagine even as a passenger, you're probably experiencing some anxiety. So what you're seeing, enough of is really good. That you're starting to see that that you're having a feeling, that you're calling anxiety. All right, and there's nothing wrong, with labeling it that, and that it's occurring from within, as you mentioned, that you're starting to see this inside out nature of our human experience. So, no thing out there in the world can cause us to feel anxious or unsafe. It doesn't mean that there isn't uncertainty in driving on the interstate. It doesn't mean that there's not a certain amount of risk. Life itself is full of uncertainty, unknowns, and risk. And of course, we're going to mitigate those risks as much as we can. We're going to use defensive driving techniques. We're going to wear our seatbelt, all those things. Maybe even if it's possible, choose to drive when, it's not rush hour. But even that is out of our control. The experience that's happening internally, the feeling, that terrible feeling of anxiety, and believe me, I can relate. I had anxiety that escalated to panic years ago, and it's awful. Many of the people that I work with describe it like feeling like they're going to have a heart attack. They are going to die. But it's really, really important for this to begin to change, is to see truthfully that the feeling isn't coming from the world coming at us in any circumstance, and in this case, from unsafe feelings when driving on the interstate, from anxiety. That is coming from the creation of thought. It's the only way we can feel anything, is that we have a thought about the circumstance. We're creating images. We're seeing possibly a replay of a memory of an accident that we witnessed. But the only way we can have that experience right now is through thought. We have to think, and then we have to, however it works in the brain, we have to create this image of this accident and I'm sure, and again, I feel for you, it must have been awful. I've worked with other people who have witnessed horrendous traffic accidents and other things. And it's a difficult thing. But for that to be the cause of the current feeling of anxiety in the body, the only way that can happen is if we bring it to our consciousness by thinking about it. Now, thoughts arise, and they're not coming from us. They're not even created by us. And I know that may sound a little, that was hard for me to grasp for a while. But I see it, and there's no other explanation. Thoughts arise, and they're not really coming from us. They're not even about us. They are so impersonal. And when we start seeing the impersonal nature of thinking, and we don't identify with it as it being us or about us, it can kind of lose that grip on us. So, that's the first step. That's the first step, is to just start seeing and just be patient with yourself, Andrea. Just keep looking. Keep, reading about this sort of paradigm that I'm speaking about the inside-out nature of human experience. How we create our moment-to-moment experience with the thinking that's there. And by sometimes breathing life into it. So that's the first step. Secondly, we can start to just allow the feelings to be there, because resisting them makes it a whole lot worse. It's like the Chinese finger trap. And I think I have one here somewhere. Oh, I'm not finding it right away, but the little thing where you stick your fingers in, and the harder your pull, the tighter it gets. Now, I don't recommend at this point in your journey, Andrea, that you jump on the interstate, get behind your car during rush hour traffic, and practice feeling the feelings of anxiety. But there may be other opportunities in your day where, and it doesn't have to be a feeling of anxiousness, but whatever feeling is coming up. And most people associate doing this with a feeling that's undesirable, that they'd rather not have. So let's just say you're feeling overwhelmed. It's, the end of the day, you've got to figure out you're going to make for supper. You got to pick the kids up from school. The dog just ran out in the backyard and dug a big hole and's got muddy feet and came running into the house. You get it. And so you're feeling this sense of overwhelm, and maybe, a heightened sense of anxiousness, or concern or worry. If you can take a moment to just drop into the body, and it doesn't take very long at all, and just identify that feeling, because feelings are experienced in our body as they're actually energy and motion. That's why the word emotion is used almost synonymously with feeling. And I do use them interchangeably. So I think I'm going to save this for another video for you. And once I create it, I'll create a link below this one where we can go deeper into feeling the feeling. But for now, let's just really focus on, I don't want to turn this into a longer video than it needs to be. So I just want you, Andrea, to be patient with yourself. Congratulate yourself for what you are seeing so far, because you're starting to see that there's something there with this inside-out nature of experience, right? You have friends that can jump in their car and jump on the interstate, and they don't have the same anxiety and panic with driving that you do. You could be, on the same road, heading to the same destination at exactly the same time, and they're having an entirely different experience. So the feeling of anxiety is not the feeling of unsafe. is not coming from the outside circumstance. And yes, it is true. It is true that there's some uncertainty. Um, there's some risk in driving a car on an interstate. But, we mitigate that risk as best as we can, and we choose to drive on the interstate or not. But it would be nice if we didn't have the anxiety, and I think that's what you're looking for, is, a new relationship with, and having some more freedom in your life by, you know, minimizing, and I can say also it's very possible to eliminate this grip of anxiety while driving, because I've worked with several people with fear of flying, driving anxiety, and there's another experience to be had. So thank you, Andrea. I hope that helps. Thanks for writing in. And if you have a question for Ask Kathleen Anything, aka, you can send your question to office@drkathleenperry.com. drkathleenperry.com. Thank you.